Hey everyone, in the world of AI, every once in a while something comes along that doesn't just move the goalposts, it completely changes the game. And today, we are diving into one of those moments. A massive breakthrough for open source AI that is really challenging the biggest names in the business. So, I want you to picture this: a gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad. We are talking about the absolute peak of human mathematical genius, the kind of creative, abstract problem solving that has always been seen as a uniquely human skill. I mean, this is a test that stumps some of the smartest people on the entire planet. And get this wasn't pulled off by some top secret billion-dollar project at Google or OpenAI. Nope, this was done by an open source AI, a model whose code is out there for anyone to see, to learn from, and to build on. This is the story of how the little guy just took a giant leap forward. All right, so to really get why this is such a huge deal, you've got to understand this fundamental battle that's happening in the AI world right now. There's this massive divide between two totally different ways of thinking about building AI. Okay, so on one side, you've got the closed proprietary models. You can think of them like these massive, high-tech empires, right? They're built in secret by the tech giants, they've got endless resources, and they are unbelievably powerful, but their secrets are locked away in a black box. And then on the other side, you've got the open-source rebels. Their code is totally public, it's all about collaboration, community, and innovation. But let's be honest, they've always struggled to match the sheer power of those big empires. And we're not talking about a small gap here. As the researchers behind this new model point out in their paper, that gap was actually getting wider. The big proprietary models were just pulling away, leaving the open source world further and further in the dust. And that was becoming a really big problem. Now, this wasn't just some accident. There were very real, very specific reasons why the open models were falling behind. It was honestly turning into a bit of a crisis for the whole open source movement. So, what was holding them back? Well, the paper boils it down to three main culprits. First, their basic architecture was just inefficient. It would get super slow and crazy expensive when you tried to feed it long documents. Second, it's the classic story: a lack of resources. Open projects just didn't have the insane amounts of money needed for the really important training phases. And third, they were just weaker when it came to being agents. The ability to actually use tools and think through complex, multi-step problems. But this is where the story gets really good. See, DeepSeek AI didn't just point out the problems. They engineered a brilliant three-pronged attack to solve each and every one of them. This is their playbook for how to catch a giant. Breakthrough number one, a completely new, much smarter architecture. And the analogy here is just perfect. The old way was like telling a researcher they have to read every single word of every single book in an entire library just to find one answer. It gets impossibly slow. The new way, what they call DeepSeek Sparse Attention, is like having an expert researcher who knows exactly how to skim the table of contents and slip directly to the right page. It is so much faster and more efficient, especially when you're dealing with huge amounts of text. Second, they went right after the resource problem by making a massive bet. They poured a budget of more than 10% of the entire pre-training cost just into the fine-tuning phase after the initial training was done. For an open source project, that is an absolutely huge investment, and it let them really beef up the model's ability to reason and solve complex problems. And the third breakthrough, well, this one is all about making the AI a much smarter problem solver. They built this new training process that literally teaches the model to make a plan, to think through the steps it needs to take before it starts using tools like a code interpreter or a search engine. It's that ability to strategize that makes all the difference for tackling messy, real-world tasks. Okay, so you've got a new architecture, a ton of resources, and a new way to teach the AI how to think. It all sounds amazing on paper, but did it actually work? Let's check the receipts. It's time for the head-to-head showdown. And yeah, the results are just wow. On this super tough benchmark that tests advanced graduate-level reasoning, DeepSeek's special version is right there in the mix. It's not just getting close to the top models of today, it's competing in the exact same league as the projected performance of future giants. That's insane. Which brings us right back to where we started: gold medal performance. And look, it wasn't just in the Math Olympiad. We're talking gold in the world's hardest programming competitions, too. This isn't just about closing the gap anymore. This is about standing on the podium, right next to the best in the world. Okay, so it's incredibly powerful, we get it. But that immediately brings up the number one question for anyone who might actually want to use this thing. all this power is great, but can you afford to run it?
And the answer is a huge yes. Remember that first breakthrough, the super smart architecture? Well, it doesn't just make the model faster, it also slashes the cost of using it, especially for tasks with long documents. So here's the bottom line. You're getting elite, world-class performance, but you're not paying an elite, world-class price for it.
So what does this all really mean for the future of AI? I mean, this is so much bigger than just one cool new model. A release like DeepSeek V3 sends ripples across the entire industry. This really does feel like a new era for open source AI. First, it blows the doors open on who has access to top-tier power. It's not just for a handful of megacorporations anymore. Second, this is like pouring rocket fuel on innovation. When you give the whole world a state-of-the-art foundation to build on, you can't even imagine what they'll create. And finally, this creates some seriously healthy competition. A strong open source community forces everyone, open and closed, to get better, to move faster, and to be more creative. And that is good for all of us. And that kind of leaves us with this one big, fascinating question. For the longest time, the very best, the most powerful AI was kept behind locked doors. Now, that door has been kicked wide open. So the question isn't if open source can compete anymore. The real question is, what happens next when this incredible power is finally in the hands of everyone?